Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Very sorry that I happen to be broadcasting under these circumstances. If you're just tuning in, obviously you're wondering what the hell's going on? Why didn't I see a draft? Why didn't I get my normal Ayesee rundown of the teams and all of that fun stuff? It's because my ISP for the second time in 3 days decided it was going to deuce itself. It was going to crap the bed, and it made me late for this broadcast. So I'm actually broadcasting from Dota TV here for game number 1 between Zenith and should have been first departure, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, here's what matters. Here's what really needs to be said. Let's take a look at the lineups. And sorry if I sound a little out of sorts. That's because I kind of am. Kind of just got the internet up and running. We're going to see a death up at top. Not that it matters because I'm still just trying to get my bearings in this match. Taking a look at the early lineups, I'd say a Timbersaw pick is probably going to be of note. And lo and behold, how things change. Morphling being picked up a surprise here as well. Just because the hero, as good as he was and as popular as he was at the International, and of course around that time frame, the International #2, more or less a hero that fell off very hard in popularity. But the hero still does what he does. He still does what he did then. The problem with him is his versatility has kind of been nerfed down, and we saw the Morphling nerf come out shortly after the conclusion of the International too. But he's still an extremely hard carry, all things being equal. However, the biggest difference with him and the way that he feels is in the early game for the most part. And that really led, for the most part, to him not being nearly as popular just because of how slow he is to morph his strength. And the fact that his survivability has taken quite a big hit there, and the mana cost for that went up as well. So anyway, let's see if I can actually figure out what the hell's going on now that I have some time to take a look at the lanes and the way they're working out. Nope, not going to have time. It's going to have Zenith engaged upon. We're going to see one drop. There's Timbersaw trying to make a run for it. He's under cover of Mirana's ulti and should be able to stay safe just in time for a TP reaction to come out. We'll talk briefly about Timbersaw just as soon as I look and see what we have here. Pretty typical tri-lane, and I would say this has been one of the more popular combinations that I've seen so far here in the Asia qualifier for G-1 League. And that's going to be Shadow Demon with a follow-up stun, usually a Lina or a Leshrac. And this time, those two find their way into the defensive tri-lane guarding this Morphling as he tries to farm his way into relevance in the mid-game and in the late game. So no real surprise there. Zenith now beginning to apply a little bit of pressure, it would seem, as Mirana's made her way up, joining Rubik as well. Now that Timbersaw, I'm going to guess he most likely started in a long lane. And that's really not that surprising. The hero has some innate escapability with his chain, and he is innately tanky just to his armor passive. This is the first time I've ever actually broadcasted a Timbersaw, so a lot of fun for me to get a chance to see that hero in action. But what that hero really is what I would call a liability hero. He's the kind of hero that's kind of tough to bring down. Hold that thought. Magnus in trouble. Going to be telekinesis, the cold snap to follow it up, and he'll be taking the hard road home. Send back to the well, make it 3-1. Right now, favoring first departure. So first departure, off to a pretty good start, it would seem. And they've drafted, of course, that Morphling. And really, this is what he needs. Morphling is one of those heroes that, due to the fact that he doesn't really have the ability to fight nearly as confidently as he did back in his heyday around the International too. He needs a very active team around him, as well as a strong supporting cast to not only keep him free to farm, but to make some room for him. And Zenith, for the most part, trying to take him out of that, applying pressure where they can, ganking mid, and more or less Morphling just being 100% guarded by his teammates. Taking a look at how Magnus has done here against the Invoker. The Invoker pick worth mentioning as well. And hold on, we're going to have another engagement at top. Shadow Demon dodges the Light Striker ring, and dodges the damage, I should say. Light Striker ring follow-up. Morphling going to re-engage onto Mirana, and he should be able to make it away quite safely. They end up trading 1-for-1 there, Shadow Demon for the Timbersaw. But that Timbersaw, again, a hero that is kind of what I would label a liability hero. You want to bring him down, otherwise his ultimate, as well, his Whirling Blade, as well as just how the hero works, is going to muck things up in a team fight. But the problem with that is, if you focus a lot of damage on him, he's innately tanky due to his passive. So you want to bring him down, but you usually want to do it with burst. He stands up to physical damage quite well. And if you're unable to do that, he's just going to continue to cause problems for you in the majority of these team fights. So Zenith right now trails 2-4. Taking a look at the early CS, we can see Morphling's right where he wants to be. We're coming up on 12 minutes, and he's got 80 last hits, so make no mistake, Miracle is doing quite a good job getting himself off to the start he wants. And that's a liability. That's the kind of thing that if you see that and you're in Zenith's shoes, you can't afford to let slide. You have to recognize that and say, okay, we can't just play as passively as maybe we wanted to. We have to apply pressure in a lot of different ways. And, you know, keeping an eye on his item choice is going to be important as well. He's got 3,700 gold banked up right now. So he could go with just about anything he feels like. Don't really see the Ethereal Blade. When you do see a Morphling, which is, again, a rarity nowadays, but when you do, the Blade build just really not as popular as it used to be. For the longest time, that shotgun build was kind of the core sort of a build on a Morphling. But due to his nerfs, you just don't see that anymore. Oh, it's going to connect to just scouting out on the jungle. Once again, very sorry for my tardiness here today. The ISP will be hearing much about it, believe me. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, however many happen to be here. I kind of rushed. Hopefully everything's working well. And we're going to have Morphling caught out with an arrow from Mirana. She's going to use Starfall, and Lena's there, but he's able to morph himself back into decent shape, so no real worries there. Invoker has opted to go with an X-Sword build, so he'll be looking to do a lot of right-click damage. Don't really mind that, given they have a number of ways to start a fight. Hold on, Timbersaw showing his face here in mid. Doing what he can, using Chakram to scare his opponents away. Up atop, Darkseer has been off to a great start as well. He's on his way to his mech, and it's basically done right now. Yep, he's got his buckler complete, so he's not too terribly far away. About 500 gold, give or take. And Invoker not quite able to connect, but he is able to track down Magnus using the Forged Spirit. So Invoker getting the most of his entire skill set. Missed with the Sunstrike, but able to connect with the right-click damage from those. And I'll tell you, that is something that's so easy. Wonderfully timed arrow. Going to buy just enough time for the No! Morphling! Able to deny it. Just comes out of the stun on time. So valiant effort, but not quite going to get it done. And I'll tell you, Mirana played a little greedy there. If she had kept auto-attacking and hadn't gone for the last hit on the tower, they could have gotten that tower without it being denied. You know, that's actually a relatively little-known fact, in my experience anyway, is the collective amount of gold that, like the total amount of gold that a tower nets for a team is actually higher when no hero gets a last hit. Whenever just a creep brings it down. It's not by much. It's by like 100 gold or somewhere in there. But when you add up all the gold that each hero gets, it actually comes out higher when you let a creep last hit. It's just spread out more as opposed to the 500 plus gold that a hero gets for last hitting it. So Mirana kind of boned her team. A little selfish play there. Doubt it's going to be the difference, but poor Clockwork doesn't have much of a chance. Now the RP's going to be spent. That's going to catch ice. He should be cleaned up and will be. Very ballsy play. Here comes the Sunstrike. Chakram actually slowed him down out of it. He might have run into that if Chakram hadn't been there. So Freedom with a little bit of perhaps miscommunication. Magnus was running right for that Sunstrike spot until the Chakram went down. And then he tried to get out of it, tried to dodge his way out of it. So maybe costing the Invoker the kill there. But at any rate, in the meantime, Dire loses a middle tower. Zenith continuing to apply that pressure. And this is something they pretty much have to keep doing. Morphling had too good of a start. And, you know, once a Morphling gets in this situation, he has a Ghost Scepter, so he might be going for an Blade. That would be fun to see. A nice flashback in terms... Oops, shop. Nice flashback in terms of build. Yule's Scepter, the item on the Invoker. And that Scepter just gives you so much innate survivability. It's going to help you out with mana, of course, and all that fun stuff, but just a very good item to use in general. And now Clockwork's going to be forced to drop his cogs, and Mirana doesn't have enough mana to really pursue this out. She's added a Shadow Blade as well. And this is a build I haven't seen in a while on a Mirana. And to tell you the truth, I mean, a Mirana is pretty rare to see to begin with, especially a farming Mirana, who in this case has picked up, again, that Shadow Blade. The majority of the time you see a Mirana anymore in professional Dota, at least in North American and European Dota, which again is where my specialty lies, or lays. But the majority of the time that I've seen a Mirana lately, it's been in a support role. And she can play a pretty solid support role so long as she has a lineup that's built to utilize her skill set. Her ultimate, utterly fantastic, Moonlight Shadow. Basically, a free, more effective smoke gank. And if you have a lineup that's built on the idea of early aggression, that plus her arrow allows her to just start fights in just about any situation she damn well pleases. But, I mean, she is an agility hero, and it's often overlooked just how much damage she can do. I mean, she has a decent range, she has a great attack animation early on, so she usually has no problem farming when she does find herself in that role. But we'll see how it's going to develop. In terms of pure late game carry potential, obviously, First Departure has the edge there because of the Morphling. And going with the Ethblade build, a nice, again, blast from the past. That's the kind of thing where you can go Ethblade into a Manta, you can go Ethblade into a BKB, or Ethblade even into a Scotty, if you feel confident enough to do so. And taking a look at Zenith, really, I don't think I would mind just skipping the BKB entirely. I mean, there are some things that it will help with, but there's no big crippling stun that for the most part needs to be worried about. I mean, you're going to have Telekinesis to fuss over. You're going to have Mirana Zero to fuss over. You're going to have Cold Snap that can be a problem, sure. But there isn't like a reverse polarity like First Departure has on their side that is just a complete game winner if it's landed in the right situation on the right amount of heroes. So, giving that, I really wouldn't mind if Morphling just went with the pure, what I'd call a Bulldog build. Went something like a pure Ethblade straight up into something like a Scotty, a Manta if he wants to do that first. But, speaking of, he's going to be engaged upon. There's the Telekinesis Fade Bolts there. RP will be spin. He caught all three. And Morphling's still alive, using the Ethblade for the first time, showing off the shotgun. And now Zenith in trouble. They're going to be pursued out. XY's going to drop, so will Mirana. Big turnaround. Beautiful reaction. And a big play coming out of Polosoon. Beautiful reverse polarity. Skewered them away from the Morphling. And I'm going to tell you, that right there was probably the nicest play he made, was his positioning. It would have been easier for him to skewer towards the Morphling and just rely on the pure damage output to clean them up. But Morphling, being in the situation he was, benefited a lot from simply having the skewer draw them away, so he had no chance to be re-engaged upon. 6-8, another big turnaround for First Departure. And they're playing a great game of Dota so far. Taking a look at the gold graph, we can see in excess of 5,000, talking in really close in terms of experience, but that gold definitely moving in the direction of Zenith. So First Departure, despite how well the Morphling is farming, still coming up a little bit short. And it is going to be a BKB option, it would seem, coming out of Miracle. Or Mirror, I'm gonna guess that should be pronounced that way. Miracal, I guess, if I wanted to do it that way. But, I mean, it's understandable. I feel like he could have skipped that, but it gives you a little bit more innate survivability. I mean, not even talking about the magic damage. It helps you out just with your health pool, and you're going to be able to morph stats regardless, so getting the good stuff out of the Ogre Club, a little bit extra damage out of the Mithril Hammer as well. Not the biggest deal in the world. And it gives you a lot more stability. And I think that's really just good game sense on the side of First Departure, recognizing that even though their Morphling has had a great start, he's not completely crushing the field or anything, and we can see that in terms of last hits. 117 for the Invoker. He's in really good shape, as is the Mirana, as we roll just past 20 minutes now. So we've got 4 heroes, all past that 100 CS mark that most people would agree is a mark of decent farm, if not great. Morphling, just about 1,900 gold away from picking up his BKB, and that might be a mark for them to get aggressive. And that's really the one nice thing that First Departure has going for them outside of the Morphling pick and the late game carry potential that's going to give them is they have a team that can turtle really well. It's really tough to slow push or to just try to fight into a team featuring a Magnus and a Clockwork whenever they start to run as a group. And we can see they are beginning to stick together much more now. So they have some stability. Still have all 3 tier 2 towers remaining. Not quite in the same position that Zenith is. They've only lost 1 tower so far. But they have a comfort zone where they're going to be able to farm up their Morphling pretty confidently. Mirana going to be quite happy to take some farm as well. She's on her way to a BKB. Mithril Hammer should be complete now. Ogre Club already in her inventory. And a Mirana versus a Morphling, I mean, Morphling is going to outcarry her, no doubt about it. But the intangibles of Mirana are going to stay intangible on into the late game. So it's not as if she's completely outclassed here. The strength of her ultimate, the fact that it's going to give them all the best tool, one of the best tools in the game, to take a pick and push sort of approach to the late game. That's going to be relevant no matter what. And that's one of the highest values that a Mirana is going to bring to absolutely any match that she's a part of. Her arrow still absurdly long if she's able to land it from a distance. The stun duration is just through the roof. So, even though just in terms of pure one-on-one fighting, Morphling is going to have the advantage. But Mirana may arguably be the better asset to her team in the late game than a Morphling is. Just because, I mean, BKB is excellent. And he has a Shadow Demon on his team. That helps him a lot. And I would honestly say that that's the one thing that Mirana, or excuse me, that Morphling has going for him more than anything, is not just that he had a decent start and that he is, in theory, the better one-on-one carry in the late game, but more to the point, I feel like he has a better late game support cast. Shadow Demon, gonna be a problem for Mirana. Even when she gets to BKB, BKB duration's only so long. And she has a lot of movement, and what it's gonna come down to in particular for NWP is going to be how well he's able to move and position himself in the ensuing fights as the game gets later and later. If he drops, the damage output just falls off almost entirely on Zenith, and it'll be one of those lineups that is reminiscent of some of the matches we saw yesterday, where they have a lot of abilities, they have a lot of fantastic tools that they can use. But the Darkseer, Vacuum Wall is excellent. Invoker, having gone X-Sword, is going to have some right-click, though he is honestly building more of a mobility and survivability-oriented approach than he is anything else. Going X-Sword, then picking up the Blink Dagger and the Yule Scepter. He's going to be tough to track down. He's going to be able to get off most of his spells in almost every situation. And seeing this kind of a build out of him, if he eventually wants to go Scepter, that wouldn't surprise me. He may end up going something like a Scythe of Ice, though, just to try and account for the Morphling. Both, I feel like, are going to be acceptable. But, you know, normally I would say, you know, Scepter's always on the table as an option. But for the most part, Scythe of Ice is going to be a more popular choice for most Invoker players. But given he has gone so much mobility, he's going to be wanting to use that time that those items buy him in these fights as optimally as he can. Get off his full skill set as he continues to level up. As of right now, we're 24 minutes in, making 14 kills on the board. And relatively quiet period of downtime, and both teams quite happy to farm, I think, recognizing the relative merits that each squad has going for them. Morphling sitting at 177, still not completely outclassing the Mirana, and that's worth mentioning. I mean, once Morphling gets rolling, gets one good item up like an F-Blade, usually he can just flash farm like hell, and his mobility's just through the roof because of Replicate. Hold on, we got a battle down here. We're going to see one drop. That's going to be Magnus getting a kill. And first departure, able to get a pick on Mirana. That's very important for them. Was just talking about how Mirana had not allowed the Morphling to completely outclass her, but now down for 40 seconds. That's time she's not going to spend farming. Time when Zenith cannot feel nearly as confident on the map as they did before. Still keeping an eye on Invoker. Want to see what item he wants to pick up here. Magnus still sitting on his Blink Dagger. Magnus got a crap ton of gold, though, man. He's sitting on 3,200 gold. He could just flat out buy a set of drums and still have plenty enough left over for buyback if he wants to do that. In the meantime, XY on his way to a pipe. He's got a Hood of Defiance up. Going to give him that innately tanky survivability. And that's, you know, again, something worth mentioning. There's a decent amount of spam damage that First Departure can throw out in any fight, especially at this stage, still very early on at 25 minutes. To say, you know, not even talking about Laguna Blade, but just Dragon Slave, Shockwave, Waveform, and Rocket Flare. Those abilities all chained together. You take all those in the face, you're going to lose a lot of health if you don't have a BKB. Speaking of BKB, NWP has picked one up, so survivability ready to roll there. BKB also done on the Morphling. Now the question becomes for Morphling, what are you going to go with? Hang on, here we go. Mirana's got her eye on a target. There's the arrow. That's going to connect. Sunstrike's going to be there, but it's going to be late. NWP locked down. Dust goes off. BKB's activated. Timbersaw's there using the chain. Now, FD being pursued. Here comes the Rock. Rock going to do good damage. Magnus forced to skewer away. Takes a little bit of extra auto attack damage. Now the re-engagement possibly on the way. Yep, here we go. Hook's going to connect. That's going to catch XY. XY, no. Telekinesis there to bail him out right into the chakram. FD in trouble. Morphling vacuumed into it and into the wall. He has to run. He's down below half health. Cogs are going to go down. FD's the target. The Morphling illusion chasing him out. Replicate ready to go if he has to use it. He's already got 41 seconds to get back to base. He's TP'd away. He may come back and try to fight this out. A fight that escalated very quickly. We saw Mirana just going for an easy kill, hoping to work in conjunction with the Sunstrike from the Invoker. Speaking of Sunstrike, not going to connect. Mech's going to be used to get everyone back into fighting shape. 20 seconds if Morphling wants to replicate back. Didn't even see where his replicate went, actually. It's actually in mid. So, 27 minutes, first departure. Maintains their lead in terms of kills. The gold, though, and the experience, both still favoring Zenith. So, even though these fights breaking even or going first departure's way, at least in small ways, the overall play, farm and map control still remaining in Zenith's control. First departure now looking as if they want to threaten this tier 1 bottom. We're going to hear Mirana pop her ult one more time. And again, this is what I was talking about. This is never going to be bad. Magnus going to be used. Here comes the Sunstrike and the Rock. Down he goes. Didn't even really touch on that. The fact that he's using Yules the way he is, which is to set up Sunstrikes and Chaos Meteor. Pretty tough to dodge those abilities whenever you're up in the air and can't move. So he's making it work for him in a big, big way. And we just saw when he is able to isolate a target and get that off, aside from his own survivability, and the cooldown on Yules is so low. And normally we wouldn't see the Dota TV chat, but yes, TCVS, whoever you are, Ayesee is telling you your comment is on the money. This Invoker is legit. He is going to be going for a Scythe of Ice, it would seem, as he's added an Ultimate Orb now to his inventory. But again, the team of First Departure, very tough to engage into. Very, very tough to engage into. Freedom tosses out the Chakram. Up, he's going to be caught with a hook. Showed himself, now the cogs are down. He's going to be able to chain his way out. And making a run for it now. TP reaction's going to be there. He is able to put a little ground between him. There's the blink, though. Magnus is there. RP spent. He got an extra prize. Freedom's going to be cleaned up. Skewers XY. Down go the cogs, though. Good vacuum brings everyone inside. XY will end up being cleaned up. Bought some time with his mech, but there's time for his team to react. No movement, though, heading in that direction. Zenith just kind of let that go. Thought we might see them maybe try to follow that up, and not going to be the case. 11-9. And the Morphling is off the board as well. Didn't even see what happened to him. Taking a look at the kills, death, and assists. We can see 5, 3, and 3 is actually tops on the board. That's going to be for Magnus, who has additionally added a BKB to his inventory. So he's looking to do damage. He's not looking to just be a stun machine. Not looking to rely entirely on Shockwave, but looking to do damage in his own right. Looking to stay alive in these fights and contribute more. Was wondering what he was going to pick up. He had a ton of gold. Just spent it all on that BKB. But taking a look at the net worth tab, we can see Morphling is on top. However, 2 of the top 3 both belong to Zenith. Mirana and Invoker both keeping that gap pretty low. And, you know, it's great to have a Magnus that's well farmed. But at this point, I mean, I guess there really isn't anyone else on their side or on their squad who they'd want to have the majority of the farm outside of the Morphling. But we're beginning to see the inventories of the supports fill up quite a bit faster for Zenith. Blink Dagger on Rubik, love this choice. Mobility on that hero just allows you to punish other bad positioning so effectively and so badly. Mirana has picked up a Blade of Alacrity. She's going to be on her way to a Yasha. Looking to get the Manta style up, add a little bit of extra survivability. Don't mind that one little bit. Shadow Blade, of course, still in her inventory. Haven't seen her get the most use out of it in history, but still a decent item for the attack speed. Usually, you want to be applying a bit more pressure. But the Morphling now, with the BKB up, not sure if he's picked anything else up. Doesn't look like he has. BKB, F-Blade, etc. His next item choice, going to be very important. Oh, and WP. Oh, the leap. And the RP to follow it up. There's the skewer back. There's the hook. Not even needed, though. Very effectively executed by Polusan, who's played a very solid Magnus so far. Mirana's down for 50 seconds. Morphling has all that room to farm now. And we're going to see Zenith go ahead and begin applying pressure to the tier 2 bot, and they should get this basically for free, and they will. Last hit by the Invoker. All this time, though, it's just more farm from Miracle, and TP will be there. It's going to be the Invoker. He's got help as well. That's going to be Ice. And let's see if they're able to catch him. Here we go. Shows his face. There's a replicate, though. And, yeah, just scaring him off. Thought they were going to try to engage using telekinesis plus the Yules, but not going to be the option they take. 12-9. First Departure continues to lead in terms of kills. That gold, though, still hovering around 5,000 advantage for Zenith. This game more and more beginning to look like, oh, just look at the damage output. That's what I was talking about. The damage output just utterly insane, really. Morphling able to make it away, however. But the this is going to be one of those tight matches. We're already at 32 minutes in, and not looking as if we're going to see anything to turn the game in a big way anytime soon. The Clockwork on his way to a pipe of his own. He's got a Hood of Defiance. Darkseers has been done for quite some time. Has an additional 1,000 gold in his inventory. Getting that Manta up on the Mirana, very important. But I'll tell you, Mirana's taken a couple of deaths she really had no business giving. She was way too far forward here in mid when she died off of that smoke game. And that's allowing Morphling to begin to open a gap a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. She's going to have to overcome the fact that she's just not as innately as good a one-on-one carry in the late game anyway. So giving Morphling even more room to breathe, not something that they're going to want to continue to do. Scythe of Ice, now complete on the Invoker. Very important item for them, just for isolating that Morphling. And that's kind of the problem, really, that First Departure has, is once you get into the late game, so much of what they do is going to be predicated on keeping that Morphling alive, keeping him in good position. And to be honest, it's a situation where First Departure later on might not even feel comfortable taking a full 5-on-5 team fight unless they just have the perfect RP. And unless they can just use the shotgun to blow one support up before the fight really gets underway. Like, that's what I don't want to fight. Zenith has a team, really, it should be able to deal with that quite well, though. Surge from the Darkseer will be able to get people out of trouble. Mirana's ulti, allowing them to go invis at any given moment. That'll help her bail out teammates who are maybe caught out of position. Invoker, with Cold Snap, able to interrupt any chain of initiation. And this is going to be a fun game to watch as we come down the stretch. Roshan, to my knowledge, unless he was taken before I joined into the game, has not dropped yet. Freedom, looks like he's on his way. Well, we'll see what he's going to build, actually. Could be a Bloodstone. But, for the moment, both teams quite content to just hover around their respective sides of the map. Very passive last few minutes of Dota. I mean, we've seen some small engagements, but for the most part, both teams not really willing to commit to anything. Not seeing a whole lot of activity as they try to farm up their carries. The Mirana's completed the Yasha, now looking for that ultimate orb on her way to a Manta style, one can only imagine. Morphling up to 3,800 gold. And he's going to be disrupted as he's spotted out here. Oh, never mind, not spotted out. Disrupted as he is joined, I should say, by his teammate. We'll see what they want to do with that. Just probably continue to farm up very quickly. But yeah, just all in on Morphling's late game potential. We're going to have an Invis rune taken by Mirana. See if they want to do anything with this whatsoever. They are beginning to rattle their saber here in mid just a bit. Taking a look at the relative supports, Magnus is up to 2,700 gold of his own. See what he wants to add to his inventory, if he's going to go for a refresher build or simply pick something else up that might be of help to the team. Could pick something up like a Vlad's that would help not just himself, but the team as a whole. Drums as well, an option that we've yet to see picked up. And he's not going to be picking anything up if he's dead. He's down to half health, but they don't overcommit here. Zenith had him dead to rights, but not a whole lot of follow-up, as they knew that the TP reactions could be very, very quick. Back to the gold. First Departure is making up a little bit of ground in that department. The experience is heading back towards the 0 line as well, and that's just the Morphling factor kicking in. Between his mobility from Replicate, having the Shadow Demon to disrupt him, and so on and so forth, he's going to be able to farm so much more quickly. And we can see Mirana beginning to get left behind a little bit now. She's more than 3,000 gold behind when it was as close as 1,500 just minutes ago. Still not a whole lot of activity really to report on. Just trying to get a grasp on where the heroes are going with their items. Clockwork with the pipe now done on his own. 3,000 gold still remains in the inventory for our Magnus. Could one-shot buy. Hell, I mean, in a little while, you could just about one-shot buy a Vlad and a drum if you wanted to do that. Lena, going to be picking up a 4-staff, adding a little bit of mobility to her own repertoire. Enough gold now for the ultimate orb. We'll see if that's going to be the choice for our Mirana. Hanging out just for the moment.
Radiant's bottom tower.
I'll tell you what, this is definitely a flashback to Dota 6 to 8 months ago. I don't think I've seen a game be this passive for this long, between 30 and 40 minutes, in months. Very little going on. Just everyone looking for their farm. Morphling has picked up his first ultimate orb. We'll see if that's going to be on the way to a Scotty, or Lincoln's. Could be a Lincoln's as well. Magnus, in the meantime, is able to finally bring down a tower that had been standing with very little health for quite some time, and Zenith may go ahead and try to trade that for the tier 2 top. In the meantime, it is the Bloodstone, as I thought it would be, on Freedom. Going to help with his mana pool, his survivability. Bloodstone very much a snowball item as well, so if he could stay alive through these fights, soak up the charges. And you know, I don't mind this. I mean, you see it all the time in non-competitive play, but in professional play, it's a much more rare item. But seeing it on a Timber Saw, as rare as the Timber Saw is, first time again I've ever casted one. Don't mind that item a bit. They do trade tier 2 for tier 2. But Morphling got the majority of the farm and such on bottom as he joined Magnus after Magnus had brought down the tier 1. 40 minutes in. And now Morphling's going to go ahead and just replicate on into the Roche Pit. The Vision. Oh, pretty much can't draw whenever I'm not in a broadcaster slot. Was going to draw around that ward. Couldn't do so. But anyway, our first Roshan looking to drop at just under 40 minutes. They're going to get this uncontested. No vision whatsoever. Going to spot this out. And right about now is when they're going to be saying, crud. Not the time that you want to be giving an Aegis to a Morphling. He's got 5,000 gold as well. Could still decide to go Lincoln's or a Scotty. At this point, given he's already decided to go with the BKB, Scotty really would make the most choice, or the most sense for him. Not only does it tank him up or give him survivability, I should say, just because of his ability to morph points into strength and the absolutely absurd amount of stat gain that a Scotty gives you. But in terms of tracking down heroes like a Mirana, who are going to be kind of tough to stick on and bring down, given that is going to be the biggest source of right-click damage on the side of Zenith. Just having that slowing effect. Yep, he's actually just going to go ahead and finish his Manta. I really didn't expect that at all, given how long he waited on it. Keeping his buyback up, though. Nothing wrong with that, and we can see the buyback status quite full on both sides. And this is just very, what I would call typical, very cautious, very methodical Asian Dota at its finest. Back to the net worth. Mirana has actually closed the gap a little bit. Was behind about 3,000 now. That's been dropped to 2,500. So she's keeping up with the Joneses. Not letting it get too far out of hand. Manta style of her own, as well as the BKB and Shadow Blade she's had for quite some time. 21 kills, 40-minute game. Very quiet game so far. Freedom still walking around, by the way, with tier 1 boots. Has yet to pick up a set of tier 2s. Darkseer looks like he's probably on his way to his Shivas, as he's added an ultimate orb to his own inventory. Could be a Scythe of Ice, though. I've seen that before. Shivas, of late, seems to be the much more popular item choice on most Darkseers, just because they want to get into the fight, vacuum wall, blow the Shivas, keep people stuck, and that's generally small area for as long as they can, especially when you're talking about his synergy with a Timber Saw. And that's not something I've really touched on a whole lot so far, just because I didn't have a lot of time. Well, I mean, I came in 6 minutes into the game, so or if not more, since my ISP was unwilling and unable to function early this morning. But a lot of synergy between the Darkseer and the Timbersaw. Vacuum, wall, and if you drop the Chakram, that would probably be the optimum way to engage that. Throw the Chakram out first, then vacuum wall on top of the Chakram. And if a Darkseer's there with the Shivas in his inventory, and again, we'll see if that's what he's going to go for. He'll be picking up the rest of it sometime soon. He's got 2,300 gold. Mystic Staff only about 400 gold away if he wants to add that to his inventory before completing the item in toto. But anyway, for now, looks like First Departure's had enough of quiet, and they're going to try to get the most out of this Aegis. Going to look to slow push this bottom lane. We already see the Replicant making its way up towards mid, so he's going to be able to replicate away if he wants to for at least the next 30 seconds or so. And they could try to... Yeah, they're not going to do that. I was going to say, I guess they could try to base race. Doesn't make a ton of sense, though. And here we go. Morphling just goes for it. Waveform's in. Now blows the Manta. Tier 3, taking a lot of damage down to half. Shockwave stolen and used. There's the Scythe device showing itself. Disruption on the Morphling, though. He's going to come out with some more illusions. He's down to half health. Still has the Aegis up. Going to try to morph himself back into fighting position. Now here comes Mirana. Under cover of her ulti. Took a few pot shots, then fell back wisely. Tier 3 does end up dropping. The Aegis still active. Aegis still has about 3 minutes left, so they don't have to rush this at all. I'm really happy that Miracle held on to his BKB there. I mean, it's typical Dota 101 stuff, but in a moment like that, when you know you've got the support of a Magnus behind you, it can be so tempting to just go for it. Not going to be the case, though. And now, the army of illusions, Replicant, taking off. They're just going to go ahead and pull back here. Not feeling confident enough to try and take this fight in a more concentrated fashion. And Morphling has another 5,200 gold in his inventory. I mean, the guy is farming absurdly high. He's beginning to really open that gap up again. And we'll see what he wants to pick up. Again, coming back to the Scotty or to the Lincoln Sphere. Either one would work quite well. There's another ultimate orb. And yeah, we'll wait to see what it's going to be. Manta style in conjunction with disruption, not to mention replicate. The guy's going to have a lot of illusions anytime he wants them, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, the team fight potential was there on both sides, but as mentioned, Mirana already is going to come up short in the pure who out carries who debate. So why not go ahead and take that advantage and multiply it quite literally? And now beginning to threaten at bottom once again. A lot of smoke, a lot of dust on the way, and makes a ton of sense given the big X factor is going to be in a lot of ways Mirana's ulti if they decide to try and engage out of the base. Right now, though, it looks like they're going to be stuck here for quite some time. Mirana, 3,300 gold in the bank. She's going to have buyback. There's an arrow that connects on Morphling. They may follow this up, doing some damage, but not overcommitting. Chakram goes down, but no other follow-up. His Replicant just doing what it can. And here comes Morphling. He's going to go ahead and use the F-Blade. Now he's going to back out following that. Just looking to whittle them down as much as they can. Pipes pop, so they look fairly committed to pushing up here. There goes the Chakram again. Arrow's going to be dodged. Morphling still has his Aegis for another minute or two. Now pops the Manta. Glyph going to be used as well. There's a vacuum. Unable to do much with it, though. Chakram, as well as a little bit more spam. Now they're going to follow up on the ulti. This is dangerous for them. They get spotted out, but it looks like First Departure knows what's up. Yeah, they know the Invoker would not be coming out that aggressively if he didn't have some help. And Magnus is going to be spotted, but he's going to be able to blink away. Force Staff on Luna helps her get away. Tornado will come up a bit short. And able to get a Scythe of Ice, though, off. Catching Lena. Lena's going to use her Ghost Scepter, buying some time as long as she can. Misses with the Light Strike Array, but will be sent back home. Just not the way she wanted. So Zenith gets a return kill at the very least. That Aegis has faded by now. That's obviously a big part of why they decided to back out there. Not having the Aegis to rely upon. But so far, the farm very much in favor of first departure, at least in terms of individual net worth. The gold, still in favor of Zenith, but barely. The experience, about as close to zero as you could ever hope to see in a game heading to this latest stage of play. Now, Zenith beginning to look like they want to be a little bit more aggressive. Showing their faces here in mid lane, knowing the Aegis is down, knowing that Roche will not be back up for at least a few more minutes. Morphling is yet to spend most of his gold, has 4,200 in the inventory.
Players here.
And Zenith looking to take control of the Dire side jungle, just looking for a positioning advantage. Something I haven't talked about either that is much worth mentioning in terms of just pure right-click potential is the power of Empower with the Morphling. I mean, Empower, at this stage, a lot of bonus damage on a hero that's already going to be doing a lot of damage to begin with. Still got 4,700 gold in his inventory. And we're going to see what he's got on the way. That's a refresher orb that is now done for FD. So banking that gold up and still waiting to make sure he has buyback, just playing very safe Dota. And they may look to go ahead and just turtle this out until the next Roche respawn. Mirana with 4,600 gold in her bank. Saving for buyback, obviously. Hoping to get another big item up sometime soon. Morphling now at about 3,500 gold advantage. In comparison to her, 5,200 gold in the inventory of Invoker. And Ice even with 2,200. Very, very passive game of Dota. And again, this is I won't say it's a nice change of pace because I like some exciting Dota, but it's a change of pace for sure from what has become much more standard in North American and European Dota. 22 kills in a 50-minute game. Very much the opposite. It's, you know, it's rare anymore that you watch a game of Dota in North America or Europe that is not ultra aggressive and averaging about 1 kill a minute at the very least, sometimes a lot more. But, as is, very methodical Dota, very careful Dota. Looks like an MKB is going to be the choice on NWP. And that makes a ton of sense, especially as you move towards the late game. I mean, and yeah, you can talk about the fact that the bonus damage, and well, not bonus damage, but just the pure damage output you're going to get from an MKB is awesome. She could also go crit if she wanted to, but the reason I think she's going to go with an MKB here is going to be sieging the tier 3s. I mean, no matter what, that's going to be something you have to do. And it's much easier to do that whenever you can siege from the low ground and know that you're going to connect. Mirana has eyes on Morphling here. There's the arrow. Sunstrike's there, but he does replicate away immediately. Another one of the strengths I didn't really talk about of Morphling in general is just how hard it is to pick him off because of replicate, because he's almost always going to have a replicate ready. We've reached that point now, 15 minutes in, where the pure spam ability is not going to be quite as powerful as it was between Luna, Magnus, Morphling, and Clockwork. Still potent enough, as we just saw there as they melted that creep wave down, but not nearly as big a deal as it would have been 20 minutes ago. A lot of it now going to be moving in the direction of just who can carry the hardest. The Invoker picked up a point booster and will be making his way to, I would again imagine an Ags would make the most sense to me. He could honestly go Scotty too, though. But we will see. In the meantime, Scythe of Ice was the pickup on XY. First time I'm checking in on him in a while. Looks like he may be going for a Shivas now, though. And that's not atypical or anything at all, seeing a Scythe of Ice pickup on a Darkseer. It's just, for the longest time, Shivas first had sort of become more of a norm. At least in terms of, again, North American, European Dota. Scotty is complete now on the Morphling, and he's hitting pretty hard. I think you could say that quite confidently, hitting for 400 plus damage each and every auto attack. Now XY is going to catch our Magnus, though. He's going to be vacuumed back. BKB is active now. He wants to turn it around, looking for a target. Can't blink, though. He can't do anything. Finally able to catch one that's XY. We're going to see the hook land. There's the reverse polarity right on top of the wall. Now Morphling going to town, chopping wood. Another RP goes off, courtesy of that Refresher's Orb. We've got buybacks on both sides. Magnus back up and ready to fight. Freedom's in trouble. He's going to end up dropping, runs into the cogs, and will end up dead. Not the best engagement Zenith could have helped for there. Or hoped for there. 11 to 15 as the dust settles. A lot of buybacks, a lot of gold. Spin on both sides. But here's the thing. Roche is back up now. That's 37 seconds. Darkseer is down. Darkseer does not have buyback. Does not have buyback right now. If they want to just dip into the Roche pit. They're going to be able to do that pretty confidently. And there's Invoker checking it with a Sunstrike. Doesn't see anyone there. And let's see if they're going to go for it. They are. Don't blame them a bit. Morphling should have no problem nuking this big boy down. His attack speed through the absolute roof. Laying in to Roshan. And this is with quite a few points still in strength. He's going to be able to morph even further away from this if he wants. This is going to be devastating if they're not able to challenge this. Chakram goes in, though. They may want to go in. There's Invoker. There's a Sonic Wave, but the BKB's up. He's just continuing to get it. Aegis going to be picked up by him now. Are they going to stick around? There's a waveform out. He's going to spot our Invoker. Yule's going to be used to keep him alive. BKB's active on both him and Magnus. Invoker going to QQ walk his way to safety for the moment. Shockwave's there, but unable to clean it up. The fight really spread out as Zenith wanted to challenge that, but really couldn't do so effectively. Ice going to be spotted out. There's the shotgun. The adaptive strike. Doing a lot of damage. Shockwave. Gonna be off the mark. He will be able to TP away before the rockets do connect. 2,800 gold now on Magnus. We'll see what direction he wants to go with his next item. Shiva's has been picked up on our Clockwork. Clockwork and Darkseer are basically mirroring each other for the most part. What's separating them, though, is one Scythe of Ice. 53 minutes in, and this game showing no signs of being over anytime soon. Morphling has reached the point of what I would just say is absurdity. He is going to go ahead and swap out his shreds for boots of travel. So he's got a full inventory essentially right now. I mean, so long as he has an Aegis, he does anyway. The Manta style, the BKB. Most solid pickups now. Mirana beginning to show. Yep, she did complete her MKB, so no surprise to see that whatsoever. I mean, the bonus damage she gets is nice, but for the most part, you pick up an MKB in a situation like this. Well, for two reasons, I guess you could say. Morphling could always go and grab a butterfly if he really wanted to. He could just sell off the Manta style or the BKB and go with a butterfly, so it would help if that were the case. Usually, that's not what you're going to worry about. But just being able to siege the tier 3s from the low ground. That alone makes the item worth picking up if you're looking for damage as well. And to be honest, you're not going to win a race against Morphling to see who can have the best stats. You're not going to win a race against the Morphling to see who has better stat gain and overall tankiness and survivability. So you're much better off in this situation focusing on just having pure damage output and making sure that you are going to have a chance to make the most of what your team can get for you. In terms of immobilizing him, in terms of opening up the potential to get him out of a fight early. That Aegis still has about 3 minutes left on it, and they may just go ahead and commit here. Looks like that is going to be the call. First Departure playing a very solid game of Dota so far. Getting a lot out of this Morphling pick. The unorthodox drafting of Zenith showing us a Mirana pick as well as a Timbersaw. One or the other, you could just say, okay, it's cool strat. You go with both. Sometimes you got to expect that maybe things might get away from you if you go super late. And Timbersaw, I mean, he's been utilized okay. Chakram's, he's a hero where we've seen some cool stuff. He's been able to keep himself alive using the chain. Chakram has done his job to a point. But with I would like him a lot more as a hero if he was on a team with a Magnus, for example. If you swapped him for the Clockwork, I think I'd like it a lot more. But anyway,
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
What has the potential to be a potentially game-ending push? And this is the thing, when you get this late in, 55 minutes, if you can get up, get a kill, and hold on, they're just going to go for it. Wall's going to go down. There's the vacuum. He got Morphling. RP's going to be off the mark. RP whipped. He got no one. Now he's Scythe device. Disruption going to buy him some time. They're going to try to re-engage out. He's still in trouble. Scythe again. Going to be able to know he will be hit from the high ground. Pipe's now active on Zenith. They're able to turtle this out. Some very aggressive play, and now they're going to be able to catch up with the Shadow Demon. He's in trouble. Lena's going to be tossed in the air. courtesy of the tornado. Yule's going to take her right back up. Jim's going to be picked up. Peace out, Lena. She is gone. Gigantic turnaround from Zenith, and they pull the trigger on the TPs as quick as they can. Morphling got nothing out of that Aegis whatsoever. Playing ultra aggressive. Yeah, Tusky. I saw it. I saw it. I even called it out because I'm a play-by-play. I call what I see. Call what I see. But fantastic base defense from Zenith. And now that Aegis may go without being used. Yeah, here we go. I mean, we're going to see this countdown. Dunk, dunk, dunk. But Zenith now feeling a bit of resurgence of confidence. Yeah. Big booty boy, you are right. He whiffed on the RP entirely, and that hurt them a ton. Magnus still down for 10 seconds. Taking a look at the buyback status, everyone but Clockwork and the Timber Saw. And wow, he's just going to go for it. Pops his BKB, trying to just take this as quickly as he can. Still has his Aegis, wants to get something out of it. And yeah, he's just going to end up back. Got nothing out of that. And I'm really impressed with Zenith so far. I feel like they have the weaker draft, to be blunt about it. There's a reason why Timbersaw and Mirana are not seen that often. I feel like one or the other can fit really well into a solid lineup, but carry Mirana is not something I think is really worth picking most of the time. I didn't see the draft, so maybe they saw something I didn't. But for the most part, this is not a situation you want to find yourself in, a Morphling versus a Mirana late game. And, well, if you're the Mirana anyway. But they're making it work for them as best as they can. A couple of mistakes out of first departure were really what made that fight, the last fight at the Tier 3, come out the way it did, though. Not to take anything away from Zenith, but they were helped out by Magnus whiffing on his RP. They were helped out by Morphling being way too aggressive and engaging into a situation, basically engaging into the dark. Had no real reason to do that whatsoever. And they made him pay for it. And now looking like they want to go ahead and push top. They've got most of the squad there ready to rip. Boots of Travel being used by Morphling. He's going to be able to replicate back in just a moment. And this is something else, you know, the hero just brings to the table. Talked about the intangibles that a Mirana brings, and I stand by that. I feel like he's actually just going to be spotted out here. Wow. What was he doing? What was he doing? I'm dumbfounded by that. Should have replicated away and didn't. What was the plan? He's down now for 80 seconds. Yeah, I simply don't understand it. Just a big brain fart there. And Zenith capitalizing on it in a big way. Roshan's back up in about 3 minutes. And we're going to see Magnus going to be engaged upon, just getting right-clicked to death right now by Mirana. Chasing him down. She's going to have leap in 13 seconds. First force stab gets him out of trouble. Lena there, but blink daggers all over the place. Lena's going to be caught with the tornado. Ice is there. There's the Scythe of Ice. Manages to steal a spell as well. Gets Dragon Slave. And peace out to Lena. That's 2 heroes down. And I'm not going to lie. This feels like a choke job. That's really the only way to put it. This just feels like a choke job. Morphling's got buyback if he needs it. And he may have to use it. Here we go. And yep, here we go. The Siege from the low ground. Exactly what I was talking about. It's added the data list as well. Magnus is going to have 2 RPs at his disposal. Going to spin one now. Spins the other. They're going to come in. There's the wall down as well. Vacuums everyone in. And just as bad as Miracle was seeming to have choked, all of a sudden, Zenith playing way too chest out in the shadow of that Tier 3. They pay the price. Roshan going to be back up in just a moment or two. And so far, 17-17, 34 kills in a 60-minute game. Still not showing any sign of the conclusion being in range whatsoever. And Morphling continuing to tank himself up. He may just go straight up for lifesteal here and get a Satanic. He's got a Reaver in his inventory. Could go hard if he wants, but just given how hard he's hitting, I mean, he is just mauling people. 470 plus damage he's doing. Oh, 460 plus, I should say. Arrow is actually going to connect. It manages to hit Morphling, and they're going to Sunstrike him. Decent amount of damage done, but yeah, he's not going to be too afeared, at least for the moment. And so far, Zenith not willing to really back off. Roche going to be back up again in about 60 seconds now, not even that. 45, give or take. Reverse Polarity is going to be back up and ready to go in 15 seconds. It's going to be another 70 seconds on the refresher, however. Shiva's still not complete on XY. Still banking towards his buyback. And neither team, I mean, and justifiably so. Both teams overcommitted once in the last 10 minutes, and both teams paid a heavy price for it. Zenith grouped up way too much. Like, I don't know how they allowed themselves to be 3-man RP'd sitting at the foot of the steps, pushing into the tier 3. That just made no sense to me. But still a lot of Dota left to be played by all accounts. 4,500 gold right now in the inventory of Magnus. I mean, the amount of gold that everyone just has hanging out. He actually went with the heart instead of lifesteal. I don't hate that a bit out of him. I mean, it makes sense. But thought for sure lifesteal would be the choice. Especially given that it does help out with armor a little bit too. Not going to be the case though. Timbersaw's added a Scythe of Ice of his own to his inventory. Ice, still pretty naked. Marana has pretty much hit full inventory right now. She can swap out her treads for some bots, but other than that, not a whole lot left for her to do. MKB, Daedalus, she's hitting extremely hard. Not quite as hard as the Morphling, but extremely hard nonetheless. Hitting for 380 damage plus a shot. Morphling, when he's fully morphed, does okay damage. Does okay damage. Say that. Just continuing to farm his way up, though.
Just what are you hiding?
And now, both teams have retreated. We can just draw in the battle line. Roche is back up. One would think this would be the next major point of contention, given it is a cheese Roshan. They're going to smoke up. Here we go. Moving together. Wouldn't surprise me a bit to see Zenith do the same thing using Marana's ulti. Shadow Walk. So far, playing very passively, very cautiously. Trying to find themselves in the right situation. They do have a gem, so not super scared of Marana's ulti at this stage. Moving now to the Radiant side jungle. Zenith going to double back across mid lane. And we may just see them try to bait this out. This is a very common tactic, very effective, very simple, but also very easy to anticipate. You see a Morphling playing way too far forward like this. I mean, yeah, he has Replicate, and a lot of times that can be enough of a thing, something to make you go, well, he's just playing that aggressive because of that. But very often, if you see a carry like this just playing way too far forward at this stage of the game, you can bet that there's going to be a team hanging out. They are going to be spotted there by the illusions of Marana, so not going to be getting the drop on anyone. They may double back here and try to Roshan. Roche again is back up, has been for quite some time. A Forge Spirit's going to be there, and they're going to spot out what's going on. Zenith going to be in position to challenge this. They got to get there quick, though. Morphling is hitting very hard. Roche at about 3/4 health. Can they get there soon enough? Here comes the Sunstrike. They know what's going on, and they're actually going to back out. I'm a little surprised. I think they would have had a chance to clean that Roshan up if they had hung around. Tornado and Arrow both spent. Now they're going to go back in. Here's Marana's ulti. Going to be Timbersaw leading the charge and the waveform back out. Chakram thrown to the high ground. And Marana's ulti still has everyone invisible. Zenith setting up shop on the other side of the pit now. Up. Seems like they hit some. Who'd he hit? I heard Bullseye. But both teams playing extremely safely. Not wanting to give up 1 ounce of bad positioning. Zenith now, though, beginning to exert their influence underneath the tier 3. They've actually managed to kind of herd First Departure back under their tier 3, at least for the moment. Now they're going to double back towards the Roche pit. Mirana's in there, and she's going to be able to clean it up. Here comes Morphling, though. Morphling didn't see what he got. Morphling didn't get anything. He is going to be isolated. He's going to be Scythe of Vice. Here comes Timbersaw across. Now the RP, though. Caught 3, but no follow-up. Morphling is down with no chance to get back into this fight. They're going to pursue this out. And he will buy back. Sunstrike's hit, but Zenith manages to get the Aegis. It did go on Rubik, who's going to have it popped off of him now. Now the re-engagement, and yeah, super dead, super no doubt. XY now taking a lot of right-click damage. He is going to be purged. Demonic Purge locks him down. There's a vacuum on his way out the door. Didn't see who got the cheese. Was trying to see that as well. Morphling waveformed in. Looked like he might have had a chance. Full inventory on Mirana meant she had no chance of picking up. Actually, Rubik got the cheese as well. So Ice had the cheese and the Aegis. Did not use the cheese, just hung on to it. Buybacks aplenty on both sides. And this game, again, we're coming up on 70 minutes in. And still showing very little sign of abating. The gold on everyone, getting to very high proportions. Everyone wants to have buyback ready at any given moment. Gold per minute. Morphling still maintains the lead there. He's at 580. Mirana not super far behind at 523. And now it looks like they want to show their faces down here. Darkseer's still down. And he does have buyback. At the very least, going to try to make him spend it, I would imagine. And he's going to move on up. Here we go. Uses it. There's the Sonic Wave or Shock Wave. And now, Scythe of Ice used on First Departure. Excuse me, on the Magnus. He's going to be brought back out. BKBs are up on everyone, though. Pipes up on both sides. And the Invoker helping to try and pursue this out. They did force the buyback out of the Darkseer at the very least. Now there's a vacuum, but Mirana's ulti lets him close the distance. Good disruption. Buys time for the clockwork. He's going to try to eat his way out. Arrow is not going to be on target for anything, however. I'm God. In trouble. Will be cleaned up.
Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
So far, Zenith continues to hold the line. Looking to pursue this Morphling out. Morphling's got a full inventory. I mean, unless he wants to sell something he already has, not a whole lot more he can do. The Shiva's still delayed on the Darkseer for the moment. We got 39 kills in a 70-minute game. And a return to the old days of Morphling. Now stretching his muscles and flash farming quite a bit. Both teams have withdrawn to their relative sides of the map. Haven't looked at the goal graph in a while, really. And we will now. I mean, at 70 minutes, that's nothing. 5,000 advantage, 5,000 experience advantage is pretty much negligible at this stage of the game. And we may just see them turtle out another Roshan. That may actually just be what happens here. Not a whole lot more to talk about, to be blunt. I mean, outside of the items that the supports are going to add. I mean, we've kind of touched on the carries about as much as we can. Our Invoker, with an absolute trust fund, banked up 7,000 gold. And at this point, let's see, what did he pick up? Pick something up. Perseverance. So maybe on his way to a Lincoln's, perhaps. XY will be spotted out. And this is one of the tighter games of Dota, one of the more passive, elongated games of Dota I broadcasted since way before the International. Nice throwback if you like this style of Dota. Well over an hour into this game. A game I was late to arrive to because my ISP decided to go out once again. But a game well worth showing up for. I'm certainly enjoying it. Here we go. Under cover of Shadow Blade, Morphling will be spotted. And there, he's going to be Scythe of Ice, and this could be bad. He's not going to be able to replicate. He's not going to be able to replicate. He's stuck. He can't go anywhere. They're going to have to fight this out. Cogs go down. They're laying into the Morphling, trying to bring him down as quickly as they can. Chakram goes out, as does the Shivas. Now the Arpedo got everybody. He hit everyone, and he got him twice. They're going to be able to clean this up. What a gigantic play out of the Magnus. Good vacuum into the wall. Means the fight's not quite over. But Zenith caught out by everyone. Now the buyback's coming out on both sides. The clockwork will be cleaned up. Zenith able to turn this around mostly because of the vacuum wall coming out of XY. And now the retreat, he will be able to make it, just barely. Oh, what a play. And Morphling actually dies bottom. Oh, what? Morphling, okay, he does have buyback. I didn't know if he would or not. Oh my goodness. The perfect timing on Zenith engaging into Morphling forced that fight to take place. Morphling unable to replicate away, so they had to engage, and Magnus landing the best 2 reverse polarities of his life. Granted, a second's a lot easier to land. A lot easier to land that second one after you catch 4 with the first one. But the turnaround on behalf of this guy right here, vacuum wall combination, gets him a triple kill, and now they're going to go ahead and lay into this tier 3. Can they outdamage the backdoor protection? Nope, not with Glyph up, they can't. So buyback is forced on the clockwork. Morphling still has his if he wants to use it. Doesn't look like he's going to worry about it. Laguna Blade, now the Scythe of Ice, though. Down goes the Chakram. There's a hook. He's going to catch Mirana. Mirana able to leap away into the high ground. Caught a little bit in the mech on the way out of the door as well. And he will be able to make it away. The Centaur was there banging on him. But the Mirana NWP able to make it back to safety once again. 22 to 24. And an insane game of Dota. 73 minutes. And still no sign of this game reaching a conclusion anytime soon. Morphling's back up, and very important that Morphling did not spend buyback here. He managed to just wait it out. Died in a pretty silly manner, if we're to be completely honest. Just got caught out with his hand in the cookie jar in bottom lane. Just waiting on both teams to stabilize themselves now. Taking a look back at the buyback status. No buyback status on Mirana for a couple of minutes. Rose should be back up in a couple of minutes as well, so she will have that just in time for that. I just want to say that NWP has done a fantastic job of keeping up with Morphling in terms of farm and not allowing him to just snowball out of control in this game. He's had a full inventory forever and still has 7,000 gold. And I'm actually anxious to see what he's going to do. I mean, you can't rebuy BKB at this point. They changed that quite some time ago, so it's not like he can spend gold getting back to 10 seconds on his BKB. BKB down to 5 seconds now. That might be something he considers selling at this stage. Not a guarantee, but something he may consider selling. The Manta style has been a very good use so far. Don't think he'd get rid of that. Ghost Scepter now up on our Magnus, along with a Ghost Scepter on the Lina, as we've already seen a couple of times. Shadow Demon has one of his own. Those supports getting harder and harder to kill. Still waiting to see when Invoker wants to buy for himself. We'll have to wait and see. XY's actually gone with an Ags, and given how effective a deterrent vacuum wall is at this stage of the game, catching that Morphling and just letting Morphling's illusions blow up the entire other team is certainly worthwhile. So I don't mind that at all. Opting not to finish his Shivas and finish the Ags in one shot instead. And both teams still taking their sweet time. They may just wait out another Roche. Gonna be up to 80 minutes very, very soon here. And game 1 of this best of 3 between Zenith and First Departure. Roche should be back up in 60 seconds. It has begun the 60-second countdown now. Mirana sitting on a trust fund of her own now. She's got 7,000. She may as well consider selling that BKB. Not a guarantee, but it could happen. 5-second magic immunity, still quite a bit. But for now, First Departure beginning to show their faces in bottom. That's 3 heroes. They've got 2 trailing behind. I'm a little surprised, to be completely honest, that Mirana has not been using her ulti more. Not to say it has been completely underutilized. It hasn't. But I feel like they could have applied a bit more pressure using it if they really wanted to. Now, though, Zenith playing quite a ways back. Roche is back up. And it will be checked with a Sunstrike. Gonna see nobody's home. Zenith now beginning to make their way in that general direction. The rest, First Departure, hovering around the Dire Side Secret Shop as well. Magnus going to be looking for a repeat performance when he hit absolutely everybody with reverse polarity. The rest of his team hoping for it as well. We've got a Refresher's Orb done on Invoker now, which, I mean, don't hate it. It's an interesting thought. It's something I've seen one other time, I think. And keeping an eye on the influence that Refresher is going to allow him to have, going to be very important. He's got the mobility, the survivability. He certainly has the ability to pour some damage on. And they're going to be relying on him the later this game goes. So at this point, I don't even think I can use that phrase anymore. The later this game goes doesn't exist. This game is late and will be late forever. It shall be late. We're up into 5 digits in terms of the gold that Morphling is sitting on right now. 10,500. And if he gets an Aegis, he may just buy a Rapier. That really wouldn't surprise me a bit either. Here we go. They smoke up. They send the Morphling replica to appear to go farm. They're going to try to bait something out with that. Morphling going to face tank his way in here. Regen Rune down here. There's the Forged Spirit. They see the Forged Spirit going to go in. And they're going to try to get a pick. Oh, Timbersaw, wrong part of town, buddy. Uses the Ghost Scepter. They're going to re-engage. Here they come. Now the Mirana ulti use. Vacuum brings them in. Here comes the hook. Now the wall down as well. Morphling just laying into everyone along with his illusions. Mirana, though, going one-on-one. He walked through the wall again. Walked through the wall again. Has to be careful. Laguna Blade from the high ground. Morphling forced to back out of this fight. Mirana's ulti being the big X factor we knew it would be. There's an RP that catches Mirana through the BKB. He has another one available. He will use it. There it is. Gonna land it on NWP. Here's Morphling. No, RP was stolen by Rubik. He got it, all 3 of them. They're gonna clean this up. There's no way they're gonna be able to contest Roche if they lose this fight. Magnus is gonna be down. And Morphling is gonna be down. Down goes First Departure. Down goes First Departure. Zenith on the back of Ice. Turns that fight around and forces a complete buyout. The entire team of First Departure forced to buy out. 29-24. And still a lot of Dota left to be played. They do manage to get the Aegis, and that's going to be on the Invoker. Rubik gets the cheese. And now they're going to catch Ice again. Down he goes. At least he didn't have the Aegis this time. NWP spotted out. There is another buyback. Hook's going to be a little wide. Now, oh, look out, Clockwork. That's not what you want to be doing. Down go the cogs. Shiva's going to be used, but the Yules is there as well. They're going to catch the Magnus one more time. Laying into him. Forcing him back out. And Clockwork, poor guy, is going to end up dropping. Taking a look at the buybacks. He's down. No buybacks on the entire side of First Departure right now. Oh no, they're going to be able to get the Invoker. The Aegis is gone now, and he's got a whole team there to help him out. He can't just rely on trying to get out. Mirana has to come try to help him out. They get the tier 3, Ken, finally. At 80 minutes in, are we going to see a Rax down? Alacrity up. Now there's the disruption, but the Scythe device is going to be used on the Shadow Demon. RP catches everyone again. No follow-up, though. Spent it all for naught, and he may end up dead because of it. Zenith may take this game. He will be cleaned up, and this might be it. They don't have buyback. They can't buy back again. The Rax will drop. There it is, the GGs. First Departure, who looked like they had to jump on Zenith. Zenith, a team who drafted a Timbersaw and a Mirana, looked to have been caught out. But no, the best stolen reverse polarity I've ever seen coming out of our Rubik handled by Ice. Turned everything around, and finally, an 81-minute barn burner is going to reach its conclusion. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. 33-25. Zenith takes a Game 1 win. 1 hour, 21 minutes, the official game time. I don't even know what to say. That game alone would justify purchasing a ticket. That game alone would justify purchasing a ticket to the G1 League. Sure am glad I rushed to get into the game, even if I had to cast it from Dota TV. Thanks so much for being here, guys. You're on One More Game TV 2. I'm Ayesee, joined by nobody. Once again, I'm all by my lonesome, but still got a lot of Asian qualifier Dota here in the G1 Champions League. Phase number 2. This is Group D. Still a lot more in this series. Game 1 goes the way of Zenith, and I think I may have a heart attack if we have a Game 2 like that. Stick with us. Game number 2 on the way, coming